Hi, good evening, and a warm welcome to the webinar. We will get started in exactly 5 minutes. So we'll wait for 5 minutes for all the participants to join in and settle down, and then we'll get started with the discussion today. So once again, a good evening and a warm welcome to all the participants. However, we are going to use this time. So we'll use this time to firstly understand about how we'll be conducting this session, and then how can you benefit the maximum through this session. I would also like to welcome Mr. Nitin from ONDC, who's also joining us here today. Hi, Nitin. Welcome to the webinar.
Good afternoon, everyone.
All right. So we will give 5 minutes to the audience to settle down, and then we'll get started. So in the meantime, let me firstly share with you how we'll be conducting this webinar. So Nitin has to take a early hard stop. So Nitin will be sharing it with us about ONDC, what is ONDC and how you can benefit from it. And if you have any question that you would want to ask him, you can ask your question, and then we'll move into the technical session, which will be conducted by me. That's where I'll be explaining that how can you enable ONDC onto your online store. So that's where I'll give you a detailed step-by-step walkthrough. And then again, towards the end of the session, we'll break into a question answer round. So if you have any question related to the technical aspects or the technical walkthrough that I have given to you, you can definitely ask your question. So that's how we'll be conducting this session. Now, as we are waiting for all the participants to join in and settle down, let's also understand how can you ask your question or how can you interact with us. So you can see there are two options which are available. So in bottom of your screen, you can see there is a option called Q&A. So I would request you that if you have to ask any question, or if there is anything that is not clear to you and you would want to ask, then you should add your question in the Q&A. It is also okay. Technically, you can add your question in the chat as well. No one is stopping you. But what happens? Sometimes there is an exchange happening between the members. Yes, you all can also interact amongst yourselves using the chat. So if there's an exchange happening between the members, sometimes there's a lot of volume in the chat, and that's where your message or your question might get missed out. So, and we don't want that to happen because you have taken out your valuable time and you are here. So we want you to get all the answers to the question that you have. So that's why I would not recommend that you should add your question in the chat. You can add your question in the Q&A. However, we can also use, or we should also use the chat for a very interesting and a very useful activity, that is to understand more about the participants who are joining us here today in today's session. How can you do that? So you can just add a very small introduction about yourself, your business, from where you are, your contact details, and what product and services you are offering. Let me do that because I'm recommending that. So let me do the initiative, or let me take the initial steps. So I'm going to add my details in the chat, of my introduction in the chat. So let me just quickly do that. I've done that. Now, in the similar fashion, all of you can also share a brief introduction about yourself. And this is something which I'm not making up, but in many previous sessions, we have seen that participants were able to find buyers and suppliers in such sessions. So you should also use these networking opportunities, although these are virtual networking opportunities, but equally important ones. So you should also utilize these. We always encourage our participants to connect and network with amongst themselves. So you can share a brief introduction about yourself. In about a minute, I can see already a few people have started exchanging information in the chat. Now, in exactly 1 minute, we are going to get started with the session. Another very important point that I would want to share with you is about the devices. Now, during the technical session that I will be doing. And I'm not sure if I'll have time to remind you at that time. But during the technical session, I will be sharing my screen. Now, sometime or most probably whenever a screen share happens, and if you're accessing it through a mobile device, that's where by default it will go full screen. So, but in case it does not go, so ideally you should start holding your device in a landscape mode when the screen share starts, because that's where the screen will be very small. So in case it does not go full screen by default, just turn it around, hold it landscape, and it will go full screen, and you'll be able to see the screen in a better way. All right, so this is where we'll get started with the session today. Once again, good evening and a warm welcome to all the participants who are joining us here today. I can imagine all of you are excited to understand more about ONDC. So this is where we are formally getting started with this session. My name is Adnan. I'm Director, SME Ecommerce Growth at GlobalLinker. My functional, or it is obvious from the designation, my functional focus areas is the digital commerce platform Linker.store and other digital commerce initiatives around the globe. In addition to that, I actively work on educating and empowering, or educating and guiding business owners on how they can use digital and technology to grow their business. And that's where I've conducted more than 350 training sessions and webinars, and had the wonderful opportunity of interacting or sharing information with about 12,000 businesses in different countries. So that was a brief introduction about myself. Now I would request Nitin, if you can share a brief introduction about yourself, and share with our audience about ONDC and how they can benefit from ONDC. I understand you have a hard stop that you have to take at 4:25, so we can move a little quickly through the discussion.
Thanks, Adnan. Thanks, Malvika. Thanks, GlobalLinker team. And thank you, everybody, for joining today's session. My name is Nitin Nair. I'm a Senior Vice President with Open Network for Digital
Nitin,
Commerce.
sorry, your audio is not very clear.
Is it better?
Yeah, now, if you can start talking, I can suggest.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Nitin Nair. I'm from Open Network for Digital Commerce, ONDC. I'm a Senior Vice President based in Bangalore. I'm responsible for South India of ONDC, as well as I lead travel, transportation, and mobility as domain, right? So that's my broad.
Nitin, still audience, although I have larger speakers so I can hear you, but still people in the audience, they are sharing that they are not able to hear.
Is this better now?
Yeah, it is much better now.
Okay, great. So I'll try and be louder. Unfortunately, this is the best I can in terms of the gadgets that I have right now. So essentially, I'm a Senior Vice President. I lead ONDC, the south part of the ONDC business, as well as travel, transportation, mobility domains, right? So when you look at, ONDC, the mission that we are a marketing community-led initiative supported by Government of India under Ministry of Commerce, DPIIT, Department of Promotion of Internal Industry and Trade, right? And then, broadly the initiative is to bring what UPI did to payments, we intend to do to commerce. Right? So in that sense, what are we really looking to do? Especially for sellers, right? Let me keep it very contextual. When you see is a very, very novel concept, and I could spend probably half a day talking about it, but keeping it very contextual to you as potential businesses, potential sellers to come on the network and benefit from it, right? So if you look at it, let's take any of you as a business, right? You would all be at various stages of trying to digitize your business, or trying to be, going online, trying to get orders, etc. Right? So when you look at that, what are the typical problems that you foresee, right? The first is you try and put up a website, you build the entire technical capability of managing the entire order flow, card, payment gateway, etc. As well as then, put up the entire technology for it. And then you wonder, okay, how do we now start getting orders and demand? That's one problem statement, right? Already a significant investment required. Other is that you do, go to a shop front like Shopify or equivalent and quickly get your website up and running, but you still, struggle with trying to, bring in demand. The third option is go to one or more of the platforms and list your inventory. But there are several challenges on the platform. You will typically not have any control over the terms of business, the commission structures. Everything is a function of how the platform looks at it, right? So OND is being set up to help small sellers potentially overcome all of these challenges, right? So now how do we do this? Right? Essentially, ONDC's vision is to create an unbundled open e-commerce, e-commerce ecosystem, which is able to talk to each other seamlessly using the ONDC protocol, right? And when you look at what does that mean for the seller, right? So from a seller perspective, that means there will be companies that like GlobalLinker that will support you and go online, in terms of having a storefront or equivalent. They work with you, build a catalog with you and get you online. And demand will potentially come from buyer apps, which are large consumer apps, right? If you look at we have 14 buyer apps live. We have about 65 apps across the ONDC ecosystem today. We have 14 buyer apps, 11 logistics apps, and about 40 plus seller apps, including GlobalLinker, right? Now, this entire ecosystem will work to support you in building your digital business. GlobalLinker arguably will bring the catalog online, and then the demand will start coming from the 14 buyer apps, whichever one choose to work in your category. Of course, every app may not be in every category, but whenever there is a search on a buyer app for a particular product or service that you offer, it will seamlessly flow through to the ONDC network. You will, with GlobalLinker support, be allowed to make a quotation, and if the customer chooses to buy, an order is placed. If your product requires logistics delivery or equivalent, right, where something needs to be dispatched, logistics as a service is also available on the ONDC network. At a very high level, the entire ecosystem value chain, you will be able to stitch without having to invest and create individual capabilities. You will be able to work on terms that are favorable to you and convenient to you versus having to work on terms that are one size fit all and standard to you. And therefore, there is an opportunity to make a difference. Now, coming back, where do you start? You start typically working with a seller app and getting an understanding of what the challenges are, work with them, get your catalog online, and then hopefully the order pipe opens up, and then you understand the rest of the value chain and kind of start building a successful business out of it. But at a very high level, this is what ONDC is envisioned. I hear 2-3 people not commenting, not able to hear. So I'm going to take a pause here, switch off my video, right? And maybe Adnan, if it makes sense, that you want to take questions this early, or do you want me to take a pause and talk about any specific topic that you would want me to elaborate on?
So I think, Nitin, this is where we can take questions from the audience. So if you have any specific question that you would want to understand about ONDC, or you would want to ask Nitin, you're more than welcome. And just for everyone's reference, I will also be covering a brief about ONDC. So in case you were having an audio related problem or you're not able to understand it very clearly, so no worries, I'll be covering or I'll be briefly explaining about the ONDC once again as part of the start of my technical session. All right. So I can see there is a question in the chat by Hitesh. He wants to understand how to onboard. So Hitesh, I will be explaining about the onboarding process as part of my technical session. Yes, I can see another point by a user named RP. Wants to understand the step-by-step process. Yes, definitely, I'll do that. I'll take you through the step-by-step process. I can see there's a question by Roshit. So Roshit, I'll be explaining the entire process, step-by-step process in next few minutes. So that's where I'll be explaining about the onboarding process, what steps are required at your end. And if required, if you still feel that there is something which is not clear to you, I'll be sharing my contact details. Once again, already I have done that in the chat, but I'll also be sharing my contact details in the chat, so you can reach out to me and we can have a separate discussion around your requirement, or if you have any particular query, concern, etc., we can discuss that in person as well. I can see there's a question by Avigyan. So Avigyan, we can discuss this one-on-one. After the session, we can review your catalog and we can suggest areas of improvement, how you can improve, and then you can start receiving orders through the ONDC network? Sure. So few of the participants wants to have my contact details. I'll just do that. So I'll request everyone, if you have anything specific that you would want to understand from Nitin, he's here. He has to leave for a meeting. So if you have any question or anything specific that you will want to understand from the ONDC side from Nitin, you can ask your question. Nitin, there's one question. I think you can answer that. This is from one of the exporters, Rish Banerjee. He wants to understand how ONDC can help in boosting export. I know.
Thanks, Adnan. I think it's a great question and very contextual, right? So today we are not doing exports, but the direction is that we would be doing exports. We are in the process of integrating with people who are outside India, wherein buyer apps outside of India would be able to send a search request both on B2B and B2C requirements, which will come to sellers here, and sellers will be able to respond to it. And then, depending on the buyer's choice, a transaction will fructify. Now, these typical bilateral conversations with international entities are channelized by the government directly. For example, we are having a conversation with Monetary Authority of Singapore, right, where RBI, to understand how we could power exports to that market, right? So in the next 2 to 3 months, you will see certain categories on exports going live, and that would be the start of how we will go about doing this across.
Wonderful. I think there was another member, Akshay Jain. They also wanted to understand about the export. So I think you have answered both the question. There's another member. They are into professional services consulting. They want to understand, can they participate on ONDC?
Now, see, technically everything that can be purchased, right, a product or services would be on ONDC, right? But if I were to think of professional consulting or professional services, of course, you will have to figure out how you'll build a catalog out of it, right? Are you going to say that I'm going to do a business strategy as one SKU? Are you going to say that I'll do a market entry, market expansion plan? As long as it can be cataloged, this can be done. But consulting, I believe, would be slightly more nuanced than being just put on a catalog. So we'll have to see how it evolves.
Sure. So essentially, if someone can productize their service, they can be part of ONDC network, right? If we have understood that correctly.
Yeah. In some form, yes. Thank you.
Yeah. There is another question that I can see in the chat. Kriti Singh. They are a manufacturer of anti-vibration mounts, and I'm not sure if it is only for vehicles or it is for industrial use. And they want to understand if they can start work on ONDC. So Kriti, this is where I'm not sure if what is the consumption, where the consumption happens of your products, whether it is for automobile or it is for industrial use, etc. So if it is for B2C, if consumers can buy it, so then definitely you can do that. B2B is also coming through. ONDC has already started working on it, and very soon GlobalLinker will also be rolling it out. So that's where, if it is for B2C consumption or B2B consumption for business consumption, that's where you can also start participating on ONDC when we go live with B2B. Right. So Kriti has clarified it is industrial products. So, all right. So any other question from Nitin before he has to drop off early? So Prakashji, I think you can be part of ONDC network. Your products are for pet owners and farmers, so you can definitely create an online store and you can start showcasing. All right, so Prakashji also wants to know how can we do that. So this is where I think we should now break into the question answer round. So this is where Nitin, I would like to thank you for taking out time from your busy schedule and joining us here today and sharing with the audience about ONDC. and also taking their questions.
Thank you, everybody. I hope you have a fruitful session. You're able to understand and join the ONDC network soon and get the best out of growing your business with the support of ONDC and our network participants. Thank you. Good day.
Thanks, Nitin. Thanks for your time. Bye-bye. So this is where I would now start the technical section, and this is where I'm going to take you through step-by-step process. But before I do that, let's have a little interaction amongst ourselves. So first thing that I would want to know from you, that how many of you are already registered on GlobalLinker? So you can just raise your hand. There is a option, there's a hand symbol that you can see. So you can raise your hand. So I can see the number going up. Yeah. So please, everyone, how many of you have are registered on GlobalLinker, that you have an account on GlobalLinker? You can just raise your hand. So I can see a lot of participants are raising their hands. Now, the second is, how many of you have created your online store on GlobalLinker? You can also raise your hand. So I can still see that there are few people who are not registered with GlobalLinker and they have not created their store, right? You can chat me if I'm correct in my understanding that we have people in our audience who have not created their online store or who haven't created an account on GlobalLinker. I think we still have. So that's, I wanted to understand this because then I will start with step 0 rather than starting with the online store. All right, so what I'll do is, because again, we don't have a lot of time. So what we'll do is I will start with a very brief explanation of what all steps are required at your end. So just give me one quick second to open the browser, and then I'll take you forward. Just give me 1 second to. So now I'm going to start sharing my screen, and then we'll proceed ahead. And as I mentioned earlier, please feel free to ask your question. And in case you're feeling that what will others think, they may not think very nicely of you, that you're asking this question, or you think that it is a very silly question, but you still have a doubt. Don't worry, there's an anonymous option. You can use that and you can hide your name, and then you can still ask your question. What is more important is your doubt should get clarified. That will justify the use of your and my time. So please do feel free to ask your question. Let me hide this floating window. All right, so we are here on GlobalLinker, and this is where I'm starting with, like, I originally start with that you have already created your store, but I'm starting with a few more steps because I understand there are few participants in the audience who have not created an account on GlobalLinker, or they don't have an online store. So this is where. So now what you have to do as the step 1 is you have to go to globallinker.com and create your account. That's the first step that you have to do. And this is where, as we are on the landing page of GlobalLinker, I would want to give a very quick introduction about GlobalLinker. So GlobalLinker is a business networking and digitization enablement platform. So in simple terms, we have two broad verticals. One is the community, and second is commerce. Community is where the business networking comes into play. So this is where, for example, on Facebook and LinkedIn, we do professional and social networking. Similarly, there is no platform or there's no place where a business owner can go and they can find new buyers and suppliers. GlobalLinker is that platform, or GlobalLinker is that solution or ecosystem that is solving that problem. This is where you can come and you can find new buyers and suppliers. You can participate in groups, review articles. There's a lot of social networking or community activities that you can do. So that is one vertical. The second vertical is the commerce aspect of it. And this is where we understand that every business has to digitize themselves, or they have to adopt digital mediums of conducting business if they have to grow in the present or in near future. If they are not digitizing or if they are not adopting digital methods of doing business, that's where they'll find it difficult to survive in the new normal. So that's where we are helping micro and small businesses digitize themselves, because for a large organization, because they have resources, they have manpower, they have financial capabilities, they can still digitize themselves, although it is equally tedious activity for them, but still they can manage because of their resources. But for a micro or small business, it is a very difficult activity, and we have interacted with so many businesses who wanted to digitize or who wanted to adopt digital methods and mediums, but unfortunately they didn't had an agency around them that can support them, right? So those kind of challenges are very significant for small businesses, and we wanted to help these small businesses digitize themselves and then grow their business digitally. How does that happen? So this is where I'll switch my account and I'll take you to a demonstration account that I use for conducting my workshops, etc. So we'll continue with our discussion later. Before I do that, there was one more point that I wanted to share with you. Now, with GlobalLinker, we have a model where we have partnerships with, or we get into partnerships with large organizations or government bodies or trade entities that have significant interest in the growth and betterment of SMEs. So, for example, here you can see there are few partnerships which are mentioned here. So here ICICI Bank, for example, is reaching out to their SMEs and bringing them on board onto GlobalLinker, where they can come and they can use the various features and facilities which are available on the GlobalLinker ecosystem, right? Similarly, other partnerships that we have, they are doing the same. So that's where you'll find there are number of entry gates or number of versions that we have. So if you search for GlobalLinker, you'll see the different partnerships or the various partnerships that we have, right? So that is also a common question that gets asked related to GlobalLinker. So I just thought of clarifying. So let's switch the screen and I will log into a demonstration account. So this is a demonstration account. So this is where you have signed up. Signing up, it is a very simple process. You'll be able to do that in 2 minutes. So once you have signed up, you'll see something like this. And this is where you can see the various posts which are there from different individuals. You can go and you can review the articles. You can participate in groups, or you can participate in events like many of the GlobalLinker members are doing here today, or you can avail of offers. So all these features are available. These are part of the community aspect, right? So, and you can also find connections, which is here, right? So you can add connections. So that is the where you're finding a buyer or supplier, right? So that is the community aspect. And then we have the online store. This is where if you have not created your online store, you have to just go here and create an online store. It is a very simple, straightforward process. You can do that. In case you're getting stuck, you can reach out to us and our help desk team will guide you with the steps, or you can join me on Monday. On Monday, we have special sessions that we do at 5:30 p.m. as part of our evening training workshops, where I explain how you can create a digital catalog, how can you create an online store for your business. So you can join me either on Monday, or you can reach out to us on help desk. We'll be able to guide you. Otherwise, it is a very simple, straightforward process. If there was time, I would have also explained that to you. But we don't have too much time at our disposal. So we'll move on to now understand how can you enable ONDC. All right. So I'm just recapping the steps for everyone's reference. First step, create an account on GlobalLinker. Second step, create an online store. Once you have added products to your online store, once your online store is ready, now the enablement on ONDC starts, right? So that's how we have to go about it. Now, before we go there, as I mentioned that I'll be explaining about the ONDC. So let's quickly go through the presentation and then we will understand the rest of the process. All right. So let me quickly take you through this presentation. It is not a very long presentation, but something that should help you understand, because I can imagine there are a few people in the audience or a few participants who haven't understood the ONDC offering as such. So firstly, ONDC is not a platform. That is fundamentally a lot of people have this misconception that ONDC is a platform. No, it is not a platform like Flipkart or Amazon. It is a network. So for example, you and me, we are connected here today. How we are connected? Through the internet. So there's a internet network that is connecting us. And as a speaker, I'm able to share my screen, my voice, my video, everything with you. Similarly, through ONDC, buyers and sellers can get connected and the transactions can happen. Right. So here in this diagram that we are seeing here, so this is where you are there as a seller, and this is where you have a buyer. Now, how can you reach? Just forget ONDC for a moment. If in the conventional model or something which existed prior to ONDC, if you have to sell your products, and I'm not talking about the physical selling, if you have to sell your products digitally, how can you sell them? There were two avenues broadly. One is your online store, and second is the marketplace, right? There were two channels, or there were two paths that you can follow. Now, if you're using your online store, that's where you are spending on digital marketing, and then you are reaching the buyer who will be giving order to you, right? If you're choosing the marketplace route, in that case, you're paying commission, and then you are getting the orders from the buyers. So that's where, if we are just quickly looking at the numbers, so if you are wanting to have like 100 orders on your online store, and assuming 5% conversion, which is again on a higher side, so you'll get 2,000 visitors, or you have to get 2,000 visitors onto your online store to get that many orders. And that would mean if the per click cost is 20 rupees, or per visitor cost is 20 rupees, that would mean that you'll end up spending 40,000 rupees to get 100 orders. If you're selling on marketplace and you're doing similar number of orders and 15% is the commission, so that would mean you are paying 15,000 as the commission. Now let's move on and let's understand how these dynamics, or how these commercials, or how these numbers will change with ONDC. So this is where again we have you as the seller and we have the buyer. Now, as a seller, you are joining through GlobalLinker and you are creating your online store. This is your online store. Now, you are pushing your products through the ONDC network. This is where we have the ONDC network. And on the other end of ONDC network, we have buyer application. Now, you may be wondering, what is a buyer application? For example, Paytm is a buyer application, or PhonePe is a buyer application, or Craft Villa, or My Store. So these buyer application, what they are doing, they are bringing in people, customers onto their buyer application. They are doing marketing activities, etc. They are doing the promotional part, and they are bringing in the buyers onto their platform. And here we are providing the seller. So as a seller, your products are now presented in front of buyers on the buyer application, right? So this is where your products will be presented on the buyer application, and the buyer will come to the buyer application and they'll place an order, which again through the ONDC network will be transmitted to your online store. You'll fulfill that order and buyer will get the product, right? So this is like a bridge which is connecting you as a seller with the buyer through the network and buyer application. Now, if we are again looking at the numbers very broadly, so again, same scenario, 100 orders, average order value is 1,000 rupees. So that's where 1 lakh rupees is your earning. Now, this is where you have seen that seller realization I have mentioned as 100,000 rupees or 1 lakh rupees, and this is where you cannot see any commission or anything there. This is the ONDC model, where any commission which is being charged by the buyer app can be added back as a convenience fee. It can be added back as a separate line item. So, for example, the product price is, let's say, 1,000 rupees, and you're charging 100 rupees as a shipping fee, and there's a 3% commission on that. So 30 rupees will be added as the convenience fee, and the customer will have to pay 1,130 rupees while they are placing the order. So as a seller, you're not shelling out, or you're not taking any hit. You are getting whatever you are selling, right? So there is no commission, no sacrifice, nothing is happening from your part. So that's why it gives you greater exposure. It gives you convenience of getting orders, and it also is cost effective. All right. So that is with the ONDC network. Now, before I start explaining the steps, and I deliberately brought you here because this screen is most important, and you'll get a copy of this presentation. So don't worry. You'll get a copy of this presentation as part of the email that you'll receive with the recording. So here, what I've done is I've listed down the criteria or something that you have to ensure that are there on your online store before you enable ONDC, because otherwise your products will not appear. What are these criteria? Firstly, you have to ensure that you have updated the genuine pricing. So some sellers we have seen, they have updated like 1 rupee as the price and then they forget to update it. So those kind of mistake, you should not do that. The description should be properly updated or properly added. It should have at least one image. So you have to ensure that the product information is properly added. And then you have product with low stock. So if your product's inventory is less than 5 units, your products will not be showcased on ONDC, because we don't want accidental stockouts, that there is an order that has come from ONDC and then you can say, hey, I'm out of stock, I can't fulfill those orders. So that's why any product that has less than 5 units will automatically be hidden, or the listing will be delisted, or it will be delisted from the ONDC network. Next point, the point number 3, and sorry, I'm just reading these points for your reference. So ensure double check the bank details that you're entering, because if you're added wrong bank details, then you'll not get your money. So please ensure that all ONDC orders should be dispatched within 24 hours. That is the SLA. So if I've received the order, let's say at 10 a.m., so before 10 a.m. next morning, you should dispatch that order. Ensure to track and update the status of the order as soon as the order is delivered, especially if you're using your own logistic or if you're delivering the orders yourself, you should update the order ASAP. It is delivered. And the 6th point is in your edition, it is not yet executed. We are giving some time to our members to comply with this point, but it will be executed very soon, and that is integrated logistics should be activated on your online store to enable ONDC. Last point is, if you're canceling 3 or more than 3 orders, then you will get delisted from ONDC. So you should not cancel, you should fulfill all ONDC orders. All right, so that is a few important points or mandatory requirements for showcasing your products or services on ONDC. All right, so now let's go back where we left. This is where we will now open the seller panel of our online store. Again, just reiterating for everyone's reference, what are the steps in case you haven't created an online store? So you have to go to globallinker.com, sign up. Once you have signed up, on the top of your screen, you'll see there is an option called online store. Click on it, just follow the steps and you'll be able to create an online store. In case you're getting stuck, you can reach out to us and our help desk team will help you out. And once you have created your online store, uploaded the products and ensured everything is all okay, then you can proceed on to enable ONDC onto your online store. So now I will be explaining the steps that you have to follow to enable ONDC onto your online store. We have opened the seller panel. Now, in case you're wondering from where this seller panel got opened, so I'm just going to do that once again. So you have to click on online store, which will open the seller panel. It is getting opened. My internet is terribly slow today, so that's why it is taking a few seconds to load up. This is the panel. And now to the step to enable ONDC. So after opening the seller panel of your online store, the next step is to click on store settings. Here, the next step is to click on store settings in the left navigation. So here you can see store settings. You have to click on that. And after that, you have to click on store details, which will open this interface in front of you. Now here you'll be extremely tempted to click on the option enable ONDC. But before you do that, you should click on this option or this tab, which is address, and just come here and ensure that the address that you have added is correct and the Google location is also updated. So just 2 things you have to ensure. I'm not saying that you have to mandatorily update it. There's a possibility that you have already updated it, but just to be sure, because otherwise you'll enable it and then it will not get enabled and you'll get stuck. So to avoid all those inconveniences, you have to just come here and ensure 2 things. One is your address is properly updated. Second is your Google location. So you just type your Google location here and you'll be able to select that. So these two things you have to ensure. Once you are done, click on save, and the address in Google location will get updated. After updating your address in Google location, or after ensuring that your address in Google location is updated, then you can click on enable ONDC, which you can see here. So you have to click on that, and which will open this form. I've already filled the information for the benefit of time. So this is the form. This is how it will appear. It will be a blank form. And the first thing, or the first piece of information that you have to add here is your GST number. And after that, you have to input your bank account number. Now, many of you, I can imagine, are wondering, or you're getting this question, you're getting this urge to ask, why do you need our bank account? GST number is still understood, but why do you need the bank account? So bank account is needed for the settlement. So if you recall, or if I can quickly take you back to the presentation which I was showing you earlier, and we go back to this diagram. Now, what will happen? You are joining through GlobalLinker. So when a buyer app makes a purchase, when a buyer makes a purchase through a buyer app. So just imagine this is, let's say, Paytm. So a buyer, a customer goes to Paytm, and through Paytm, they saw your product, and then they placed an order on the Paytm. So they placed an order on the Paytm, and the order was pushed through the ONDC network onto your online store, right? And then you process that order, you pack that order, and then you delivered that to the customer, right? So all that process has happened. Now you have to get the money for the item that you have delivered, or for the order that you have delivered, right? Now, how will you get the money? So this buyer app, so for example, it is Paytm. So Paytm will pay to GlobalLinker. So the Paytm will be paying to GlobalLinker, and GlobalLinker will pay to you, right? So it will come from the buyer application to GlobalLinker, and GlobalLinker will make the payment to you. What is the payment cycle? So it varies from buyer application to buyer application, but as a generic rule or a general rule, you can assume that whatever is your return period. So for example, if you have a 7-day return period, in that case, after the end of 7 day, after the end of your return period, after that, the buyer apps typically have a weekly or a fortnightly settlement cycle. Some of them have a weekly cycle, some of them have a fortnightly cycle. Fortnightly means 15 days cycle. So depending on buyer app, they have these cycles. So whenever your return period ends and whenever is the next payment cycle, your payment gets disbursed. It will come to GlobalLinker, and within 2 days, we will settle into 2 working days. We will settle it into your account. All right. So I think this is where many people get curious. Why do you need our bank details, etc.? What do you want? So that is the reason. And this is where, again, you recall point number 3 in that presentation was that you have to ensure that the information which you are adding here in the screen is absolutely correct. So that's why it is important that you're adding the correct information here. If you scroll down, and again, it is simple information which you should be able to add: your IFSC code, bank name, branch, where the branch is, your account number. You have to enter your account number. Once again, you have to specify what type of account do you have, current account or saving account, and the account is in the name of what company or individual. You have to add that there. And then the beneficiary address, which is associated with this particular account, that you have to add here. Now, in case the beneficiary address is the same as your store address, then you can just click on this option, and then you don't have to type or add anything. But if it is different, then you can definitely type it here. And then you have to agree to terms of use. Now, before agreeing, I would strongly recommend that you should review these terms. It is not a very long document. I think it is just 1 page. You can review this document. Now, why am I recommending that you should review this document? Because many of you will have a lot of doubts related to ONDC regarding order fulfillment, etc., etc. All that information is captured as part of the terms of use. So like 90% of your doubts will be clarified by reviewing this document. And I think it will take you like 5 minutes to just review it. So please do review it. The link is available, and even if once you have submitted the application, even after that you'll have the link available, right? So it will not like it will disappear. You have to review it now only. No, you can review it in future at a later date or later time as well. But you should review. That will answer a lot of questions that maybe they're related to participating on ONDC, what will be the fulfillment, what will be the settlement cycle, charges, etc., etc. So all that can be addressed. All right. So lastly, you have to agree or accept the terms of use. Once you have done, you have to click on save and enable, and that will enable ONDC onto your online store. For your reference, the points which were there in the presentation slide, which I was showing to you earlier, this slide I'm referring to, all these points are also there on the seller panel. So here you can see all these points are also written here, right? So they are always there for your reference so that you can ensure that you are complying to all those points. Otherwise, simply your products or services will not appear on the ONDC network. All right, so once you are done, you have to click on save and enable. But before you do that, there is a common mistake that I know many people make is they don't click on this button and they don't turn it to enable, right? So by default, it will be in a disabled state. So you have to click on this button and you have to ensure that it is enabled. It is green. Once you have done that, then only you should go and click on save and enable. That will enable ONDC onto your online store. This is where your store has been enabled on ONDC, but your job is not yet done. Let's understand the next step that you have to do. So far, again, you have to firstly open the seller panel of your online store, and then in the left navigation, you have to click on store settings, and then you have to click on store details. After that, go to the address tab, and this is where just ensure that the address and the Google location is updated properly. Once you have ensured that both the address and Google location is updated properly, after that, you can come to enable ONDC. This is where you have to input your GST number, bank account detail, and the address which is linked to the bank account. After that, you should review the terms of use and then enable it here, and then click on save and enable, and that will enable ONDC onto your online store. But your products are still not visible on ONDC. Why so? There are two more steps that you have to do. What are those two steps? Let's quickly understand. So now, as the second step, we are going to go to the product section or the product catalog section. For in the left navigation, we have to click on catalog. This option we have to click, and after that we have to click on products. That will open the product section on our online store. This is the product section which is open in front of you. Now here, the first thing, you can take any of the product, any one product you want. So one product we have to update manually, and the rest of them can be updated in bulk. But one product you'll have to bear with us and you'll have to update it manually. How will you update the product? So we'll take this product, which is a smartwatch, as an example, and we'll click on edit, which will open the product edit window. Here you have to scroll down in the basic tab only. You don't have to navigate to any other tab. In the basic tab only, you have to just scroll down all the way to the bottom, and that's where you'll see ONDC related details. And this is where you have to click on it, and it will reveal the parent category and the subcategory. So firstly, you have to select the parent category, and after that, you have to select the subcategory. So for example, this is a smartwatch. So in that case, the parent category obviously will be electronics. So we'll select that, and after that, we'll select the subcategory, which is a smartwatch. We can see it here. Smartwatch, we'll select that, and after that, we have to click on save, and the category is enabled. So we have done one step. Now, before I click on save, there is one more thing that I would want to clarify. I'm not sure if we have any participant who is from grocery industry, but still, for everyone's reference, I'm just sharing that in grocery, especially in the categories where we have edible items or the items which are for human consumption, in those product categories, you have to add the FSSI code of the manufacturer as well. So let me just show you as an example. So here I'll select gourmet food. And here you can see FSSI license number of manufacturer importer. If it is a imported food, in that case, you'll have to add the FSSI number of the importer or manufacturer. So one of the three is required. Any one of the three you have to add. So that is an additional requirement I just thought of highlighting for everyone's reference. Let's go back to the correct categorization, which is electronics and smartwatch, and then we'll click on save. So we have done this part. Now we have to click on this tab, which is price and variant, and then we have to click on this icon, which looks like a pencil. It is the edit icon. You have to click on that, and which will open this overlay. All right. On this overlay, again, you have to scroll down and you will see again ONDC related details. You have to click on that. And here you have to add the manufacturer or packer name, manufacturer or packer address, month and year, not the date, month and year, and then the net quantity. So let's understand all these fields one by one. Manufacturer or packer means the manufacturer of the product. So for example, if this product is manufactured by, let's say, Boat, this smartwatch is from the brand Boat. So in that case, you have to add the name of the manufacturer or name of the brand Boat and their address, and then the month and year when it was manufactured, and the net quantity. So net quantity by default for most products will be 1. However, there are certain products where you have like combo 2-3 products together. So in that case, the net quantity will be higher. So you have to input all these informations and then you have to click on save, and that's where the product information gets updated. I'll not do that, otherwise this dummy product will start appearing on ONDC, but hope you understood that these are the fields that you have to input. Now again, going back to that example of grocery, that if you're adding a grocery product, in that case, nutritional information is also something that you will have to add about the product. So let me just show you that. So what we'll do is we'll very quickly change the category to grocery, and very quickly I'll show you what are those additional categories, or I'm just adding something hypothetical as a FSSI code. Now we'll go to price and variant, and this is where again we are going to the ONDC related information. Now here you can see for gourmet food or for items which are for human consumption, you have to add the FSSI number, and this is where you have to add the additive information, that what all additives are there and what is the nutritional information. You have to add that, right? So fields are different from category to category. Most of the categories have the same fields, other than groceries, or a few categories in groceries have these additional fields. So I just thought of highlighting them so that if there is any participants who is from the grocery industry, you don't get confused. All right. So far, again, I'm assuming the steps are very clear. What you have to do, let me just repeat them very quickly for everyone's reference. You have to go to your product section on the seller panel. This is where you have the entire catalog. This is from where you'll be managing all the products that are there. So any product you can choose, whichever you are liking. So you can click on edit, and this is where you have to scroll down all the way to the bottom. You'll see ONDC related details, and you have to do it only with one product. If you have a large catalog, we can update them in bulk, but at least one product has to be updated manually, right? So for one product, you have to click on edit in the basic details, scroll down all the way to the bottom. That's where click on ONDC related information, and then select the category and subcategory. After that, click on save, and the category is updated. After that, again, scroll back up, click on price and variant, and then click on the edit icon. Then again, scroll down on the overlay, click on ONDC related details, and then input the information which is there. Once you have done, click on save, and the product is updated. And after 24 hours, it will start appearing on ONDC network. Now let's understand how can you update this information in bulk. As I mentioned earlier, for one product, you'll have to update it manually. And for the others, you can update them in bulk. How can you do that? So again, it is a two-step process. So you recall, firstly, we updated the category, and then we went on, we updated the mandatory information like manufacturer, etc. even in bulk, we have to do it in the similar order or in the same order. Firstly, we'll have to do the category update, and then we'll update the mandatory information like manufacturer, etc. So from where can we do the category update? So this is where you can see there's an option called download product. You have to download the Excel file from here. I've already downloaded this file to save some time. So this is the file that is there. Let me just zoom in a little bit so that you can see the screen in a better way. It is, the text is a little bigger. So this is the same product that I was referring to, right? This is the smartwatch. And here towards the extreme right side of the file, right? So on the screen, you see a inverse image. So on the video, I may be not in sync. So you have to go to the right side of the file, and that's where you'll see ONDC category and subcategory. Now here, the important point to keep in mind is that the first column is subcategory, the second column is category. So this is the parent category, this is the subcategory. So this is where you have electronics, and this is where you have smartwatch. Now you can specify the categories and subcategories of all your products. From where can you get the categories, subcategories? So either you can look at the drop down, and from there you can get the categories, subcategories, or you can connect with us and we'll provide you the list of categories and subcategories. We already have a file, and if time permitted, I'll also share that file with you. So this is the step that you have to do. Again, I'm reiterating the steps or repeating the steps. You have to click here, download products, which will download this file. On this file, you have to look at the extreme right side categories or right side columns, or the columns on extreme right side. And that's where you see two columns, category and ONDC parent category. So it is ONDC underscore category and ONDC underscore parent category. So ONDC underscore parent category is the parent category. So you can see electronics here, and then we have the subcategory, which is smartwatch. So in the similar fashion, you have to populate the category and subcategory for all the rows which are there in the file, or for the products that you want to showcase on ONDC network, and then save this file, go back to the seller panel, click on update products, and upload this file. So that's where you have done the category mapping exercise. You have told the system, or you have informed the system that this product should be showcased in this category on ONDC, right? That's what we are doing here. Once you have done this activity, once this file is successfully uploaded, that's where you have to click on this option, download CSV, which will download an Excel file. And again, for the benefit of time, I've already downloaded this file. This is the file which will get downloaded. On this file, again, you have to go to the extreme right side, or the last columns on towards the right side of the file. And that's where you'll find these columns for the manufacturer name, address, manufacturer, a month and year of manufacturer, net quantity, etc. So again, you have to populate the information in all the rows for the products that you want to showcase on ONDC. Save this file. After adding all this information, save this file, go back to the seller panel, click on bulk edit CSV, upload this file, and now within 24 hours, your products will start appearing on the ONDC network. All right. So these are the steps that you have to follow. I'm once again repeating the steps very quickly for everyone's reference. So you have to enable ONDC. How do you go about doing that? So firstly, you have to create your online store. In case you haven't created that, upload the products and complete all the steps. Once your online store is ready, that's where you start the ONDC enablement process. The ONDC enablement process is in two stages. Firstly, you enable the ONDC on your store, and then you enable or update it in the product. So to enable the ONDC on your store, so in the left navigation, you have to click on store settings, and after that, you have to click on store details. Here, this tab will open up. Here, firstly, you have to go to the address tab and ensure that the address and contact or the Google location is updated. Once you have ensured that the address and Google location is updated, you can go to enable ONDC, add your GST number, add your bank account detail, input the address which is associated with your bank account, review and agree to terms of use, and then enable this button here, turn this button green, and then click on save and enable. That will enable ONDC onto your online store. Once you have done that, you will move to stage number 2, and that's where you have to access the product section. To do that, in the left navigation, you'll click on catalog, and then you'll click on product, which will open this section here. Now here, you have to update one product manually. And after that, if you have a large catalog, you can update the rest of them in bulk. But one product has to be updated manually. How do you update the product manually? You have to click on this edit button. You can do that with any product which is there. So you have to click on edit, scroll down, and then you have to click on add ONDC related details, select a category and subcategory. Once you are done, click on save. And then after successfully saving the product, click on price and detail, and then click on this edit icon. And then again on this overlay, scroll down and you'll see add ONDC related detail. That's where you have to add the manufacturer name, address, month and year of manufacturer, and quantity. Once you have added all that information, click on save, and that will enable this product. So we have done the single product enablement. After that, if you want to do it in bulk, if you want to do it on rest of the products, you have to firstly download this file. And once this file gets downloaded, towards the extreme right side, you'll see columns for ONDC parent category and subcategory. So you have to enable, or you have to input ONDC parent category and subcategory. You can either get the category name from the store interface, or you can, we will share with you a file of category and subcategory list. From there, you can get the names. Once you are done, you'll save this file, go back to the seller panel, click on update products, and upload this file. That will tell the system which categories your products are to be displayed on ONDC network. Once you are done, then you have to click, or once this file is successfully updated, then you have to click on download CSV, which will download another Excel file. Here again, towards the extreme right side, you'll see columns for manufacturer name, address, month and year of manufacturer, net quantity. So input these columns, or put the information in these columns, and then save this file, go back to the seller panel, click on bulk edit CSV, upload this file, and then the products will get updated, and within 24 hours or after 24 hours, they will start appearing on the ONDC network. All right. So I hope everyone is clear about the steps to be followed to enable your store or your products on ONDC. So this is where we'll break into the question answer round. I hope you were able to understand the step-by-step process. So firstly, I'll have a look at the questions which are there in the Q&A. So I can see so there was a member who has added some information about GEM. Kishore wants to understand the steps of registering on FIO GlobalLinker. So Mr. Kishore, I would request you if you can join us tomorrow. There is a webinar that we are doing tomorrow to guide exporters or business owners like you who want to join Indian business portal. So how can you register and how can you join? We'll be doing a dedicated webinar tomorrow. In fact, few officials will also be part of that webinar. So I would request you should join that webinar. I'll see if I can take out the link or registration link of that webinar and share it with you. The second question is, next question is from Roshit, wants to understand products which are on GlobalLinker store would be visible on Paytm Mall or Craftwilla. Yes, absolutely correct. If you have enabled ONDC onto your online store and followed the steps that I've explained earlier. Yes, absolutely. Any inventory management software like Univer integrated with GlobalLinker? Yes, Roshit, Unicommerce is integrated with GlobalLinker. You can link your Unicommerce account with your online store. What is the relationship between GlobalLinker and buyer apps? The relationship, there's absolutely one relationship between GlobalLinker and buyer app. GlobalLinker is a seller network participant, and buyer apps are buyer network participant, and we both are part of ONDC network. So that is the relationship. So I am bringing, as GlobalLinker, I am bringing the sellers, buyer applications are bringing in the buyers, and we are getting connected through the ONDC network. I think the question about the export, will this also help for export? Amreen Jafri. The question was also answered by Nitin while he was here. So the answer is not at the moment, not at the current moment, but definitely there is a work which is already happening to allow Indian sellers or Indian businesses to do international business or export through ONDC as well. That is in work. It will take few months to come into play, and then you can also do export through ONDC. Question from Shimangu Garg, can we create categories if you're referring to creating ONDC categories? No, you cannot. ONDC categories are predefined. You have to just specify in which ONDC category your product falls. That's what you have to do. So Shreya has asked the question that they already have a website, and if they want to integrate with our platform. So in that case, as a DIY solution, it is an absolutely free solution. And this is where not just as a DIY solution, there's no hosting charges or there's no AMC charges, etc., that you're paying. And it is a PCI DSS certified infrastructure. So a fairly powerful and robust hosting and technology infrastructure that you'll be getting absolutely free of cost. So you can just create an account on GlobalLinker, create your online store, and once your online store is ready, then you can start showcasing your products on ONDC by enabling ONDC. If you want to seek assisted help, or if you want to seek help of professionals in creating or setting up your online store, that is also available. You can reach out to me. I have already chatted my contact information, and I'll get you connected with the concerned person from the team. So next question is from Sunil, wants to understand what are the buyer apps. So you can go to ONDC's website. That's where they have listed all the network participants. So you can see there which all are the buyer applications. Next question, Akil Hussain. Now, I'm not sure if your question is related to GlobalLinker or it is related to ONDC. So for on ONDC, as Nitin also mentioned, that if you can productize your services, definitely you can showcase them. But on GlobalLinker, definitely you can showcase your B2B SaaS. We have a lot of B2B sellers or B2B businesses on GlobalLinker. You can definitely offer your solution on GlobalLinker. You can connect network with other business owners. You can do post about your offering, and you can generate leads and inquiries for your business. Next question, Rajreesh Banerjee, can we put price on request on ONDC, because these are B2C products, so absolutely you cannot. But on the online store, on GlobalLinker, yes, we do have option of price on request. You can do that. You can create send inquiry products. So those were the questions that I can see. Now I'll quickly have a look on the chat as well. So any question, any last question you may have. I will quickly share my contact details once again. So in case any one of you wants to connect, the preferred, although I'm sharing my contact number, but I think the preferred medium would be email or WhatsApp, because many times I'm not able to answer the phone. So you may think that I'm not answering your call. Sometime I have back-to-back meetings. So it would be better that if you can drop me a WhatsApp message or you can drop me an email and I'll respond to you. So my contact details, I've added them in the chat, so you can reach out to me. You're more than welcome to reach out to me. And any other last minute question? I also mentioned that we are doing a webinar tomorrow about exports. So let me quickly take out the link of that webinar and share it with you so that you can also participate in the webinar. Just give me a quick second to take out the link. So I am going to give you the Zoom registration link. You can directly register on the Zoom, and then so the webinar is tomorrow at 4 p.m. So please use this link to register. I will also add the title of the webinar. So any of you who is into export business, you should consider joining tomorrow. It is at 4 p.m. and we will also be joined by officials from VO. So if you have any question that you would want answer from government officials, you can also participate and get answers to your question. I've added the link in the chat. So please also join in tomorrow's session. All right, so I'm not seeing any new question coming. So this is where we are concluding the session for today. I can see there is one last question that I can see from Aruna. And the question is around return policy. So the good part about ONDC is as a seller, you are deciding the policy. So what is the return policy, whether there is a cancellation option or not, everything is decided by you as a seller. So how much shipping you would want to charge, all that is decided by you, right? So you're deciding. If you don't want to give it return, you don't give return. No one is going to force you that, no, you have to give a 30-day return policy or 7-day return policy, nothing like that. It is entirely up to you. So as a seller, you have the absolute independence to decide what you would want to set as a policy. All right, so this is where we will conclude the session for today. Thank you, everyone, for taking out time and participating in this session. I hope you found the session informative, and I look forward to having you on the ONDC network. You all of you have my contact details. So if you have any question, or if you need any support, or if you would want to seek professional help in getting your online stores created, then please do feel free to connect with me. All right. So this is where I'm going to conclude the session. Have